The question is, can you disassociate when you meditate? And yes, you can. In fact, the way most people meditate is driving you towards disassociating from who you are as a person, or how you feel as a person. I've seen this happen in all kinds of ways. I've seen people run naked through meditation halls, taking baths in the pond, again, naked. Weird outbursts of just pure raw, like, anger and love and everything that just is completely unchecked. And it can be quite scary to see, but I can promise you that it's even scarier to experience, especially when the high calms down and things start settling down again. So the reason I say this is because I actually used to live as a Buddhist monk for 6 years in Asia, and I spent most of that time living in meditation centers where intensive meditation was the norm. Like, we'd meditate 8 to 15 or even 16 hours per day. It was a scene that was built around just getting as much meditation in as possible. And when I say meditate, I mean it was Buddhist meditations. It was mostly vipassana or some kind of shamatha or anapanasati concentration meditation. What happens is, and the problem with the way that we approach meditation, this is not unique just to Buddhist practice, this is actually something that's unique to all practices, is that when we focus on the thing that is making us feel difficult, we tend to take a step away from that. We tend to disassociate from it, saying that I am not that. In fact, I am this thing here. But before we go into that, I want you to ask yourself, what are you? Like, when you think of yourself, your identity, what is that? Is it a concept in your mind? Is it something that it says on a piece of paper somewhere? Or is it a feeling inside of you? What actually are you? Like, what is it you identify with? Most people will say that, well, it's just a concept. I'm just thinking of myself as a human and this thought of who I am, like that's who I think I am. But actually, I'm not. I'm this other, much more grand, cool thing, like this universe thing. But what you really identify with is a feeling. You feel like you have a sense of identity. I call it sense of self, but I found that when I coach people and work with people, they have an easier time accepting or understanding sense of identity, because ultimately what it is that I identify as a good person, a kind person. I identify as a Swedish person, and with that comes all these values and things that people expect from a Swedish person, or at least that I see myself having because of being a Swedish person. So our sense of identity is actually something we feel. It's a felt feeling inside of us. When we then see, say for instance, I have anxiety, which I've dealt with a lot throughout the years. Yeah, when I look at that anxiety, the way that I would approach this before, when I was ordained as a Buddhist monk, is that I would see, like, okay, the anxiety is out there, and I am here observing that anxiety. So I am not that anxiety. In other words, I'm trying to make the feeling that I actually am, the feeling that is making up my sense of identity. I'm putting that over there and say, like, I'm not that. I'm this calm thing over here. And then you separate yourself from that. That is disassociating. You are that feeling, but instead you're pretending to be this thing over here. So you're creating that separation that you then call awareness, and people then make that grow out and become the universe, and it's much more. It's like this grandiose thing. So it's giving the ego a free pass to just become God, kind of, instead of just being you. Like, it's not enough to just be you. You have to be something much, much larger. So it's fundamentally a very strange approach when we stop and think about what we're doing. But the way that people practice it, this just seems so normal, because the problem is when we do this, it helps. When we put that anxiety over there and I put my calm self, this larger sense of self here, and I look at that, it calms me down, because I no longer have to feel that feeling. I've put it over in a corner there. It's not me. I'm not. It's like the clouds passing over the sky, and it doesn't matter. It's not me. It's just something that's happening to me, this larger me, kind of. That requires effort. As soon as you stop doing that, as soon as you stop focusing on that, that little tense sense of anxiety is going to come in and it's going to start overwhelming you, and you're going to feel that feeling again. And then you're back to where you started, maybe even more so, because now you believe, well, wait a minute, I'm not this. I'm supposed to be this calm space here, and I'm not feeling that. And then you push against that, and now you have another problem. So this is the classical analogy they give in Buddhism, is that you have the grass and you can push it down through concentration meditation. And when you push it down, it stays down, the grass, until there's rain, sunlight, nutrients, which will make the grass go up again. And when that comes up again, then you have to deal with it one more time. So you keep pushing it down, and it keeps coming up, and you push it down, and it keeps coming up. So what we need to do is pull out the grass from the roots. And this is where it becomes a bit controversial what we're actually supposed to do, because most people would say that what I'm doing, that's actually it. We look at this thing and we see it through the eye of Vipassana, which is what they call pulling out the roots, which means that we see that there is no self in that experience, there is dukkha in it, there is suffering, and it is impermanent, meaning it comes and goes away. And they believe that if we just are aware of those three things, then it's kind of good and we pull out the seeds. That's just not how it seems to happen. I mean, it does change to a certain degree, because just by looking at it, you change it, but it will keep coming back. Instead, what we need to do to actually accept who we are, and to see like this is what I'm feeling that I am, meaning I feel anxious. Why do I feel anxious? What's creating that? Well, in the end, it's not really that important, but it could be, say, that I feel anxious because I am worried about financial issues, like I don't have enough money to pay the rent. So that makes me feel anxious. Is the anxiety the problem, or is the financial situation the problem? What is the thing that you're actually trying to solve? The thing you're trying to solve is the economical side, like that you don't have enough money. The feeling of anxiety about that, that's just a emotional reaction you have towards not having money. Now, you might feel like, oh, this gives me anxiety because I need $2,000 to be able to pay my rent. Whereas if you would ask Elon Musk, like, okay, you need to make $2,000 so you can pay the rent, he'd be like, what, $2,000? Even if he was like dirt poor, like for him that would be like, that's the kind of money he just has lying in like the back pocket of his pants. Like it would probably be much more. It's so little money that for him that would not cause. Sorry, I just ran out of space on the phone, so I had to restart the recording. So I was saying how the anxiety of the $2,000 that you're missing is not a universal truth. It's something that's happening inside of you. You have a resistance towards not having that money, and that triggers something inside of who you think you are, meaning this feeling of me. So you have an uncomfortable feeling towards that, and that uncomfortable feeling is then what drives you to do something about it. Now, on the other hand, as you said, if Elon Musk had that problem, $2,000 for him is just so little that it just is not money to him. Even if he was dirt poor, he would have such belief in his ability to make $2,000 that that's not an issue. There would be no anxiety about that. He'd just go out and make those $2,000. Now, the universal truth of what's actually happening is just a mathematical problem. There's something that needs to be balanced, meaning that the payment for the rent needs to be equalized with the payment in the bank account to the person who you're renting the apartment or house from, and that just needs to be taken. The other layer on top, the emotional reaction, meaning your anxiety, that's something that's happening inside of you. And the reason that is happening is because there's a part of you that is pushing against this reality, that doesn't accept it as like, oh, I don't want it to be like that, so I'm going to make myself feel bad so that I'll do something about it. And we consider this perfectly normal. And from that perspective, the idea of disassociating and putting the feeling out there and me being here, observing that feeling, makes a lot of sense, because then I don't have to feel it. But if you think about your ability to actually solve that problem, do you think it's better or worse if you feel good about the whole situation? If you believe that I can fix this, is that going to make it easier for you to solve the problem compared to if you walk around with anxiety about it and stress about it? For most people, that's an obvious answer, that yes, obviously that would be easier, but I can't because I am so hurt by this, I am so worried by this. And that's why when you disassociate from the problem, you've never actually dealt with that feeling. You just kept pushing that away, and you're too afraid to feel that feeling. It's just a feeling. It's just a sensation in the body. It really is nothing to be afraid of. Even though I know how painful it can be, how scary it can be, and how overwhelming it can feel. That's why Maybe not start with the most difficult thing at first, but take something that makes you feel anxious, that makes you feel worried. Maybe it's something simple as just having a conversation with someone at work. And then instead of pushing that feeling down or expressing that feeling and then meaning running away, then just feel, what does this feel like? What feeling am I experiencing that makes me feel like it's scary to go and talk to them? And is this actually true? Is this a factual reality of the universe, or is it just something I'm putting as a layer on top of the universe? So I invite you to do that and just see what happens. What happens when you stop being afraid of your emotions and seeing that you are actually those emotions? What those emotions are is you, and in the same way you are those emotions. So they're those feelings, they're just going around. You're creating your sense of identity by having this emotional resistance to the world. Something that's very difficult for us to accept because we want to be this large, amazing thing. The fact that it could be so simple that we're creating these difficult feelings inside of us, that just seems too simple. So it sounds more logical that we should learn some complicated meditation technique to separate from it and not have to experience it. But the truth is, it's all about just learning how to be okay with what is. In other words, just accepting reality as it is.